At 1742 local time, the sky above the Norwegian Sea looked empty. It wasn't. A lone fighter from a Northern Air Force was conducting a routine surveillance mission near an international shipping corridor when his threat receiver suddenly erupted with warning tones. Not a search radar. Not a tracking sweep. A weapons-quality lock. The pilot glanced at the display. One contact. Fast. Closing. And coming straight through a layer of low clouds ahead. Seconds later, a dark silhouette burst from the overcast. Twin engines. Canards. Heavy weapons load. The opposing fighter rolled slightly and stabilized directly in front of him. The lock remained steady. Most pilots would have documented the encounter and increased separation. This pilot did the opposite. He pulled hard left. The fighter banked 90 degrees and descended into a shallow dive. The horizon rotated. Clouds became ocean. Ocean became sky. Within moments, the hostile aircraft shifted from directly ahead to the edge of his radar picture. The warning tone disappeared. Lock broken. Exactly what he wanted. The opposing pilot immediately began searching again. What looked like a defensive maneuver was actually a test. Every radar leaves fingerprints. Every sensor tells a story. And stories can be collected. Inside the cockpit, the pilot watched lines of data scroll across a secondary display. Pulse spacing. Frequency shifts. Power changes. Signal behavior during target loss. Information intelligence analysts spend years trying to acquire. Now it was arriving in real time. The hostile fighter searched aggressively. A few seconds later, the warning tone returned. Lock reacquired. The pilot smiled. Good. Transmit more. The aircraft leveled briefly before climbing sharply. Nose pointed toward the clouds. Airspeed bleeding away. Altitude increasing rapidly. At the top of the climb, he rolled inverted and dove back through the weather layer. The lock vanished again. This time for longer. The opposing fighter had lost track of him during the rapid altitude transition. Not because the radar was bad. Because every system has limits. Tracking software predicts where a target should be. When a pilot forces enough unexpected movement into the equation, those predictions begin to fail. Again the hostile radar searched. Again it transmitted. Again it revealed itself. Every sweep. Every adjustment, every attempt to recover. More data. More fingerprints. More pieces of the puzzle. The opposing pilot eventually reacquired. This time faster. Learning. Adapting. Becoming more aggressive. The distance between the fighters continued shrinking. 3 kilometers. 2. 1. Then less. At these ranges, pilots can see details. Control surfaces moving. Navigation lights flashing. Helmet movements inside the canopy. The encounter had become personal. The hostile aircraft pushed closer. Closer still. Its radar remained locked. Its pilot clearly intended to demonstrate dominance. The northern pilot remained calm. Because dominance was not the mission. Collection was. The hostile aircraft drifted within a few hundred meters. Close enough that wake turbulence became a factor. Close enough that mistakes became expensive. Yet the lock continued. And so did the transmission. The pilot watched as another block of intelligence appeared on his display. Signal strength variations. Thermal drift characteristics. Tracking mode behavior. Exactly the kind of information electronic warfare specialists dream about obtaining. Back at a distant operations center, analysts were already recording everything. No one interrupted. No one transmitted. The pilot was gathering gold. Minutes passed. The hostile fighter remained glued to him. The opposing pilot likely believed he controlled the situation. After all, he had maintained radar lock repeatedly. He had forced maneuver after maneuver. He had dictated the engagement. Or so it seemed. What he couldn't see were 3 additional aircraft hundreds of kilometers away receiving updates from the same surveillance network. They weren't heading toward the fight. Not yet. They were waiting. Meanwhile, the pilot decided to test another theory. He accelerated. Hard. The engine note deepened. The fighter surged forward. Then he snapped into a descending turn. 6 gs. 7. The aircraft shuddered. The lock broke again. For a brief moment the hostile fighter disappeared from his displays. Then the warning tone returned. Reacquisition. 3 seconds. The pilot mentally logged the number. 3 seconds. Useful. The hostile pilot had become predictably aggressive. Every time the target escaped, he reacted the same way. Every search followed a pattern. Every recovery followed another. Patterns become habits. Habits become weaknesses. The northern pilot continued maneuvering. Not randomly. Deliberately. Every turn slowly altered the geometry. Every brake shifted his position a few degrees farther around the opponent's field of view. The hostile pilot never noticed. His focus remained fixed on the target. His attention narrowed. His world shrank. Exactly as planned. The engagement stretched beyond 20 minutes. Fuel burned. Temperatures climbed. Concentration became exhausting. Yet the hostile pilot refused to disengage. He wanted a reaction. A mistake. A victory. Instead he kept transmitting. And every transmission enriched the growing database. The northern pilot rolled sharply and crossed beneath the hostile aircraft. The maneuver was risky. Very risky. Jet wash hammered the airframe. He had forced maneuver after maneuver. He had dictated the engagement. Or so it seemed. What he couldn't see were 3 additional aircraft hundreds of kilometers away receiving updates from the same surveillance network. They weren't heading toward the fight. Not yet. They were waiting. Meanwhile, the pilot decided to test another theory. He accelerated. Hard. The engine note deepened. The fighter surged forward.